Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello viewers, once again. Welcome to my channel. For those of you that have subscribed before, most welcome. If you haven't, then you are also welcome. Please do subscribe, and once you've watched the videos, then share my videos. Okay, so I thought I would try and resume my journey with you around Halifax. This is the point that we left off. So in the past few weeks it has been difficult to get out, partly because of the COVID situation and also the weather. So this is Commercial Street, so we have come from that side. So most of the things, so as I said, this is the street with lots of banks on it, and as I pan through, so I will be going to the other side later, but today I want to focus on the street opposite, which is called Rawson Street, and that used to be a famous family in Halifax. No doubt they still have descendants. So as I've said previously, this building, which is now the Lloyd's building, used to be part of Rawson's Bank, which actually started further up the street in a building called Somerset House, and I think that was their residence as well, which I am hoping to show you. So the whole of this street is called Rawson Street. We're going to be going through that street and then showing you some of the iconic buildings that are there. And talking of iconic buildings, this is a classic in Halifax. It's called Harvey's, and one of the last few surviving family-based department stores. So today is Sunday, of course everything is closed, and that's actually one of the reasons why I've chosen to come today. So as I say, you know, that is the other side of Commercial Street. If you remember, you know, we've got the headquarters of the Halifax Bank over there. So we will continue our journey over here, and you know, you can, as always, all but admire these wonderful Victorian buildings. So still part of Lloyd's, so, and that extends right back to there. Okay, and if I don't know which ones to show you first, actually I will go across and show you this splendid Harvey's department store, or as I and my dad used to call it, the Harrods of the North, or the Harrods of Halifax. It really is nice inside, and of course you pay for the quality of the products. So this is the back of the Lloyd's building, which I say used to be Rawson's Bank. Okay, if you look, remember further that way is George's Square with the newer buildings on the outside and the very old 17th centuries. Remember I told you about Yates's building. So this actually is part of Somerset House, although from here, you know, you can't really admire the age of the building, and once I get across then you will see the splendor of it. So I'll keep focusing up that way. Well, firstly I'll show you the street on this side. This is called Powell Street. Again, in the background you can see the Halifax Bank, but if you remember I described the Victoria Theatre that is at the end. Okay, so I really do like this building. This is called Somerset House, and this is where the Rawson family started their businesses and their bank. Okay, so there were lots of banks, as you might know from your history, that started in the 1820s and 1830s, and of course with the various economic recessions, etc., they amalgamated or got taken over by other banks, and this particular one actually became part of a bank called Martin's Bank, I think, which survived until the late 60s. Okay, so today it is occupied by restaurants, etc., but obviously in the past it has been a registrar and council premises. Okay, so I've no doubt these buildings were added onto it. I do think they're rather spoiled, but still they are late Victorian buildings, but nothing beats that really, the early Victorian buildings. So we are going to head further and further up Rawson Street. So if you remember, this area is called Bull Green. I have been here before when I went across the town, and obviously there are a lot of restaurants and drinking places. So as far as I know, this has always been either a drinking place or a restaurant. I really don't know what used to be here before. But the one across in my time used to be a retail unit called MFI. Okay, so I can get across quickly. So the reason why I'm coming across here is there are some iconic buildings. So the whole of this is Bull Green, and just off Bull Green there is Harrison Road, which is very famous and houses a number of buildings. So we're going to go back here. So the building that we see in the background is now apartments, but in an emergency in the background. Okay, so many of us will remember small shops over here which got knocked down to make way for this car park. But what's at the back of this is a real, well, I would say it's a gem of a building, because again, it's a Victorian idea, which is public toilets. Okay, so I shall point you to the way where they used to be, and as I say, now they are small restaurants. So down there is a restaurant, but in my time it used to be a convenience. I don't know which was which, ladies and which was gents. So as you can see, there are some shutters up, and that building extends to over there. Okay, as I've described before, in Halifax we have many old buildings, and then the others have been joined onto them, and there's nothing more iconic than this Lewin's building, or Lewin's pub, and that has been around since the late 16th century, I think. Okay, so I'll pan around to the view once more, and because I do want to show you another building on here. So all these, remember, were hotels and inns. So that was a very old inn, and then we've got this other one, or this one on this side, called the Plummet Line. So I am going to go up and then show you the whole building. So fortunately it is very well used, but at the present moment unfortunately has had to close. Okay, and at the back we've got many Victorian buildings that are now used as either retail units, but at one time were residential. So I'm going to go back up here and what I'm heading towards is sorry, I'll just show you plummet line again. Okay, so a very famous old inn and hotel. So do have more Victorian buildings next to Lewins. So I'm going to go further up this road because there are some iconic buildings. For those of you that follow the television programs about Halifax, which is, you know, Gentleman Jack and programs like that, there are some residents of the people that were mentioned in those. So the road that I'm on is King Cross Road, and that takes us to a carriageway which had its starting point where I was before on Orange Street and the Broad Street. I can just show you some more of these buildings so you can see and appreciate the splendor of the architecture. Okay, so this road is called King Cross Road. It starts up there, residential, and then comes down here. As I say, it is sort of cut off in the middle, or it was cut off in the middle when I was a child to build a carriageway. So I thought it'd be safe to move around, but it's actually quite suddenly become quite busy, so I'll just pan down there so they can see the buildings down there till it gets safe. So I didn't think there'd be this many cars, because there's a building up there that I want to show you, but first of all I need to get across. Okay, it's safe now. So like so many buildings of that age that are not of use anymore, they are now being turned into apartments. So we have some apartments there. I don't know if you can see the Queen's Court apartments. Like I say, in my time these used to be all government buildings. Okay, so I'm going to go slightly further up on here. This road is called Hopwood Lane. So again, a very famous family. And what we have here is an area that was used by weavers, and this building apparently belonged to a rich merchant, and he would buy from them and sell them on. And I'm told that it also used to be a training institute. And I think if you look further back, I'll see what the view on the other side is. But there we have some weavers' cottages from the 16th century. Okay, but it's actually this building that I wanted to show you. Okay, so this is Hopwood Lane, and on the corner of it we have these derelict buildings. Okay, so a little bit safer now. This building is called Hopwood Lane, and the reason why it's famous is that it used to be the home of one of Anne Lister's lady friends. Okay, so obviously it has its occupants today. I think it's been turned into bed sits. Okay, so I'm going to go further up this way and show you the other side of those cottages, because they are sort of hard to look at on this side. Okay, once again we've got newer 20th century buildings and now turned into apartments. Okay, so all these buildings, by the way, have a preservation order. That's probably why they haven't been touched, unfortunately. Okay, so this is, as you can see, rather derelict but some weavers' cottages, and the people that have purchased these not able to do the renovations. I think these are grade 1 listed buildings. I don't think the camera does justice to them really. So what are we going to do? Yeah, so opposite us is, for those that know Halifax, is the iconic Courier building. Okay, and that used to have an old clock. There you can see the space there for it. So this side of it was obviously for the journalists, etc. And then further back is where the Prince works were. It is of course still produced, but I think it's on a weekly basis. Okay, so the clock for this, I think they have it at the museum. Okay, I think I'm going to go on the other side and show you these buildings on this side in more detail. So as I say, that up there is King Cross, and that carriageway takes you into town and out of town. Okay, so again, these buildings are next to the weavers' cottages, and as far as I've known, they've always been offices and other such practices. Okay, there used to be a building on there. So there's two more buildings that I want to show you. One of them particularly sort of poignant for me because it was somewhere where I visited as a sort of trip from school as a child, and the other is once again a famous inn, and that will bring us to the end of today's journey. So unfortunately the weather is quite brisk, so if you see or if you hear a slight shuddering in my voice, please excuse me. Okay, so this is the inn, and I will film it from the other side as well. So it's called the Keys, and obviously in its time it was very, very popular. So as you can see in the background, that is the carriageway that takes us out of Halifax and into Lancashire that way, and then this way it was going back to Orange Street and towards Boothtown. Okay, so this is the building that I wanted to show you. It is the Halifax Playhouse. So I have seen many productions there as a child, and on one occasion when we couldn't do a play at our school, the school decided to hire or come to this place to do the Christmas play. So for me that is a splendid building. Okay, so I'm going to go across and show you the more detail. So unfortunately, due to the circumstances, nothing is open. Okay, so if we pan back, then this is King Cross Road starting from town, and it takes us out of town, and this is called the Beehive Cross Keys. So obviously, you know, you have to imagine if this was in the 15th century how splendid it would be, because the rest of it of course would be fields, etc. So if I had the technology like they do on televisions, then we could animate that, but unfortunately I don't. Okay, viewers, I think we will end the journey there. So thank you for watching. I hope it has been of interest, and until the next time, I shall bid you farewell. Okay, so just leaving you with the cross keys images, and I've just seen actually this was built in 1933. It's not as old as I thought, but nonetheless it is still a very, very popular building. So next time we shall be staying in town and looking at the other side streets or nooks and crannies, as I call them. Okay, so please look after yourselves, stay safe, अपना ख्याल रखना, दूसरों का भी ख्याल रखना. Until the next time, bye bye, Allah Hafiz.